Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. Maybe. Sometimes it happens the following week. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll talk about it.
Sometimes it happens a month later.
My name is Colton Brown, and joining me, it's Andrew Meadows, of course.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Good. You know, it's been a little while since we recorded, but it hasn't been very long since we saw each other. So that's the good news, right? You know,
Yeah, it's always a pleasant experience. Usually
friendship, companionship, that sort of thing.
Yeah, usually we try to reserve a very special episode whenever we see each other, but that did not happen this time. I think we were just a little busy.
We're just a little busy. It happens. This is obviously coming out, I guess as it turns out, probably about a couple weeks after the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood episode, which was our most recent one prior to this, which itself was also about 2 weeks behind schedule. So I think we talked about it either on that episode or maybe the one prior that we were planning on shifting to a bi-weekly release anyway, but let's just say we didn't intend to do it in this fashion with, no real announcement on that front. But you can probably expect a more infrequent release schedule moving forward. So I just wanted to issue somewhat of an apology up front, for any of our listeners that are, like, well, what's going on? Where's the next episode? We're still around. Don't worry about it. We're still around. But we've just been busy. I was on vacation for a week or so, and that kind of, the timing just didn't work out for us to end up recording when I was hanging out in Florida. But we're here now. We're talking about Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. One of the greatest titled films of all time, as we all know, and perhaps one of the greatest films of all time, period. But we'll talk about it. I just wanted to honestly just say up front, like, sorry about the timing. Sorry about the lack of a bonus episode for our few Patreon supporters. That's completely 100% on me. I just haven't made the time to watch the damn movies so we can sit down and talk about them. So that's on me. So we're still tinkering with what we want to do with the bonus episode for Studio Ghibli. It's going to happen. It just may. At this point, it's probably looking like a September kind of thing. But it will come out at some point. So I apologize for that. And I also will just flag something at the top. We are recording in the middle of Disney's D23 convention happening. And there's been a fuck ton of news that has broken from there. And a lot of really, really cool shit. A lot of really, really exciting shit. And if we talked about it on this episode, we would be here for 3 hours. In the interest of not doing that, we're going to hold off on that. Maybe we'll do a full episode just on that, because there's honestly a ton of stuff that we could talk about.
Maybe the bonus episode this month will be D23. That's probably
maybe we'll do something with it, because we're definitely going to talk about it in some fashion. But yeah, I just didn't want to. Since we're already so behind on recording, there's a lot of news that we're going to talk about. There's not that much news. I actually tried to cull it down so that's, more things that are more in our wheelhouses, but at the same time, it's news from basically the past 2+ weeks. So there's a lot to talk about already. Throw in that. It's just too much. I fear it would be too much, and we have a problem with talking too much as it is. So anyway, that news is out there in the wind. Obviously, check it out for yourself if you want. We'll offer our hot takes and such in the near future, hopefully. So stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to talk about Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. And I'm going to say the full title every single time. No, I probably won't. I'll give up at some point. Do you have a fun fact related to the film as a side note? I don't know if you came quite ready with one this week.
No, I have no fun fact.
This
I
episode.
have a slight observation. More of a
is it a fun fact adjacent kind of thing?
Maybe it's not really a fact though. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't really have a fun fact, so I'm going to just segue.
What's your fun observation then? Maybe fun. I don't know if it's fun or not. You tell me.
Has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson hijacked Fast and Furious franchise from Vin Diesel?
So that's interesting. Actually, I was thinking, yeah, basically, kind of. So there's still, because I was thinking of bringing this up myself, and that there's a little bit of behind the scenes drama kind of in the lead up to this film getting released. So initially, I think Fast and Furious 9, which I think is the next one in the franchise, was supposed to come out, I think, around this time, and then they ended up shuffling them around where Hobbs and Shaw got moved up so that it would come out, and obviously it did. That's why we're here. And Fast and Furious ended up getting pushed back like a year after that. I think Tyrese Gibson was fucking pissed about it, and he blamed The Rock, because he wanted to have his way. And from what I understand, the characters in this movie, Hobbs and Shaw, will not appear in Fast and Furious 9. So I think that there's kind of been the split in the franchise where you'll probably see a Hobbs and Shaw kind of spin-off franchise, I would think, probably develop from this point on. We'll talk about, box office and stuff, but I think that's probably a safe bet that they want to do more of these. And Fast and Furious 9 is definitely going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Fast and Furious 9, though. I mean, I assume, most of the principal cast will be there, Ven, Tyrese, and I guess whoever's left at this point, unfortunately. No Paul Walker, but...
Shit, Paul Walker has been around since what? The first one?
Well, no, he was there through... I'm
not good on the Fast and
seventh
Furious.
one.
I have.
I'm pretty sure he was there through the seventh one, I think it's the seventh one, and then they ended up shooting parts of the film with his brothers, and then they kind of used like a CG kind of face mapping technology. Because I think he passed away in the middle of filming or something. Yeah, basically like a deep fake, but it actually looked pretty good for the most part. Like it was mostly pretty well done. Like sometimes seamless, sometimes a little bit noticeable, but never egregious. I didn't think so. I think that was the seventh one, which came out in 2015. Yeah, that was the final film appearance of Paul Walker for, I guess in general, but certainly for the Fast and Furious franchise. So yeah, there's definitely been some drama going on. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, you could look at it as The Rock, Dwayne Johnson hijacking the franchise. But I feel like they're just going in two different directions, because this is barely a Fast and Furious movie, honestly. You know what I mean?
There's a chase scene.
Like this is like a. Yeah, I guess, but this is. I mean, to be fair, Fast and Furious has obviously drifted well away from being like a racing franchise or like all about the cars. But they usually involve cars for the most part, whereas this one I think waits until about the third act before it really decides like, oh yeah, Fast and Furious cars. Let's bring them in. And this is kind of like an action spy movie, like super over the top, like almost I don't even like Man from U.N.C.L.-ish, but like on steroids type thing. I don't know. It's all over the place.
It's almost like that. What was that ridiculous movie with John Travolta?
Oh, the Paris. The one is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, from Paris.
From Paris with Love.
Yeah,
is that it?
I think that might be it.
Yeah. It's super over the top. But it knows exactly what it is. We'll talk about it. But anyway, to answer your question, I think the short answer is yeah, kind of. He kind of did. Hijack it a little bit. You want to get into some news?
Yeah. I'll tell you some exciting news I'm real excited about, which I don't, I look back, especially a particular PlayStation 2 game, I remember incredibly fondly.
And that would be?
Enter the Matrix.
Oh, Matrix.
I don't know if you've ever played that game before, but I played that game a shit ton. And it was incredible.
I didn't. That was the regular like single player one, and then there was an online one, right?
Yeah, I never played the
Matrix
one.
Online. I guess I think it was literally called the Matrix Online. I don't think I played either of them.
Yeah, I played the single player one, and it was fucking cool. And yeah, first Matrix was really cool, and they're coming out with the Matrix 4. I can't remember how Matrix 3 ended, so I don't know where they're going with it. Be it Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss are reprising their roles, and it's.
One half of the Wachowskis are returning.
I seem to remember it being the Wachowski. Was it? I don't mean to be. It was the Wachowski brothers when they originally put it out, right?
Correct.
Okay. I was almost positive, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, so Lana Wachowski's returning for the Matrix 4.
So one half of them is returning, which is interesting. It's interesting that it's not both reteaming for it. But it is certainly interesting that, I feel like I read a rumor about this a little while back with Michael B. Jordan, somewhat like something like being attached, and I was like, oh, that might be kind of cool. Like it might maybe kind of like a pseudo spinoff, pseudo reboot kind of thing, but maybe still set within, the universe, like kind of what Men in Black International tried to be, but sucked at doing. You didn't see it. It's fine, but
would it take place just like people taking back the Earth?
I don't know, because I don't remember how Reloaded and Revolutions ended either. I remember disliking them, but other than that, I don't recall much from them. I remember the first one being awesome, and I can remember more of the substance of the first one because I've probably seen it more times, and I've probably only seen Reloaded and Revolutions maybe a couple times a piece, if I had to guess. Maybe Revolutions only once. I don't even know. But I honestly just don't know what what is this? And so it's the fact that the Keanu is coming back and Carrie-Anne Moss are coming back. It's just kind of like, what is this? And I'm intrigued by it. I think it could be really cool, and to revisit it after so many years, I almost feel like that might be a breath of fresh air. It's been almost 20 years. It's been literally 20 years since the first one came out, but I think it's been, we're closing in on 2 decades since even Revolutions came out. I want to say that was like 2003. So, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. It's interesting too that they've waited this long to do it.
And it might come out and it might be a pile of shit too. It might just be a...
Oh, absolutely. it's the Wachowskis have definitely put out some dog shit in the interim. Looking at you, Jupiter Ascending. Holy shit. So bad.
I never saw that.
People love Speed Racer though. People do love them some Speed Racer. So I'm not gonna, get on my soapbox and defend Speed Racer on behalf of the people that care about it, because I certainly do not. But people do like that movie.
The first Matrix, though. The first Matrix was groundbreaking, and it was fucking cool. It's still, I want to say that I haven't seen it in a long time, but I want to say it's still fucking cool. It's such a cool
I have the trilogy.
premise.
I think I got it like Black Friday, like a couple of years ago for like super cheap, the full trilogy for like maybe $25-$30, and it's like the full loaded up version with special features and stuff like that. I think it maybe has like the Animatrix and something else in it, maybe just like a full disc of features or something. I don't know, but I've yet to. I think it's probably still shrink wrapped if I had to guess. So it might be time to revisit it pretty soon. I think this is a 2020 movie is what they said, something like that.
Wow.
Maybe 2021. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have closed the window.
I don't know.
Let me look real quick. So so it's starting production in 2020, which makes a lot more sense. I was going to say that seemed very accelerated in terms of timeline. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it could be great. It could be a waste of time, but at the same time, like, I don't think that it's not going to sully the good name of the Matrix franchise in any worse way than the sequels already did.
Do you remember the twins? I mean? You remember the twins phasing through matter?
I do remember the twins. Yeah, I do remember that.
The albino twins.
I remember the burly brawl at the end of Reloaded with the worst CG ever.
Oh, is that when he punches him in the face in slow-mo?
Yeah, I think so. It's where there's like a million Agent Smiths running around,
and they watch him
fight, and he's going around the pole and stuff like that. Oh fuck
yeah! You didn't like that one where they're in the basketball? They're in the basketball court, and they're all Mm-hmm. I remember that shit.
Yep. That's Matrix. The one.
Cool.
So anyway, that's the Matrix. Matrix 4 is happening, starting production next year. So expect a release in 21 or 22. There you have it. You want to talk some TV stuff?
Okay.
I think might be the only TV one we have for the week, if I'm not mistaken. Wheel of Time, fantasy series coming to Amazon. I think we talked about it a little while back, talking about Rosamund Pike playing the lead role of Moiraine in it. I think I also mentioned at the time that my brothers have read the entire series, the fantasy novel series by Robert Jordan.
So we might get a guest episode on that episode whenever it is released.
It could be pretty cool. Yeah, that would be it's a strong idea.
I actually have it on Who's Accord about the audiobook being really good. Steven. My friend Steven actually started the Wheel of Time. He said he's got the same hardcover I have, and he's never quite found the time to read it. But he picked up a new job, and he's driving back and forth, and the ride's right about an hour and 15 or so, back and forth to Clearwater. And he says that it's a really good format for that book. The audiobook's really good.
Okay, well, that's a lot of fucking hours. So I think there's 14 books, but yeah.
Well, I mean, just the first book, anyways.
Yeah, I know, I got you. I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to embark on that endeavor, that's going to be a lot of audiobooks. I mean, any way you spin it, if you're reading the damn things, with a book in your hand,
I'm sorry,
you're going to be there a while.
Wrong one. Not the Wheel of Time. I was thinking The Way of Kings. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Stormlight. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
I take it
fantasy. Whatever. But
it's all the same. No.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the audiobooks. In any circumstance, they announced basically the rest of the cast, it seems like. And a lot of kind of names that I don't think I recognize. So it seems like maybe they're going for some more relative unknowns to fill out the cast. I'll just read out the names, and I'll probably butcher the character names, but they're very fantasy character names. Josh Stradowski is playing Randall Thor. Marcus Rutherford is set to play Perrin Ibarra. Zoe Robbins is playing Nynaeve. Barney Harris is playing Matt Cawthon. And Madeline Madden is playing Egwene Alvear. I'll give you a brief little synopsis.
Little tidbit?
I'll give you a little tidbit. I'll give our listeners a little tidbit too. Maybe they don't know a little bit about Wheel of Time. I myself have never read the series, so I'm kind of relying on. Yeah. It's set in a high fantasy world where magic exists, but only certain women are allowed to access it. The story follows Moraine as she embarks on a dangerous, world-spanning journey with 5 young men and women, one of whom is prophesied to be the Dragon Reborn, a powerful individual who will either save humanity or destroy it. It sounds cool, man. Amazon's probably putting some serious dough behind this project. They got fucking Lord of the Rings coming out too. Like, they're all in on like the fantasy television train, and I'm here for it, man. I think that's cool.
That is cool. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I tell you something I'm excited for. All the things that I have, which is this is the last thing I have, I'm pretty excited about. We got a little title animation or title clip for the 25th James Bond film.
Oh, well, you do the honors. What is the title?
No Time to Die. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
cool. And I like the text, and I like how the text, like, it spins, like it's I don't know how to describe it, but it kind of spins into forming the letters a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very retro style logo, isn't it?
It is.
Which is cool.
It is cool. And I like Daniel Craig as fucking 007.
I also appreciate that they're breaking away from the one-word titles. Like, I think, we had, what was it? I guess
it's an old school title too.
Like Skyfall and Spectre, we had those back to back, and yeah, it feels a lot more old school certainly than either of those films did. Those felt very kind of modern, even in terms of like logo and title. I guess even still,
it's almost like it's almost like Sean Connery-esque title. I feel like just old school James Bond title.
It feels appropriately old school James Bond, which is good for like a 25th outing. That seems to make sense. Presumably Daniel Craig's final outing. I believe it's been referred to as such, but I feel like
he's referred to as such before.
I feel like it's not the first time that's happened, but it's the first Bond film to be directed by Cary Fukunaga, which is fucking cool, as we've talked about previously. So that's pretty exciting. I like the title. I don't think it's like mind-blowing, but it feels appropriately James Bond. It doesn't feel dumb. It's not like Quantum of Solace is like, what the fuck? No, just get out of here. Like, it doesn't evoke that sort of feeling. You know what I mean? So I think it seems very classic, and I think that's a good choice. So maybe safe, I guess you could say safe. But I think the rumored title for the longest time was Shatterhand, and I probably like this better than Shatterhand. Yeah,
I would agree 10 times.
Like, what's he doing? Is he old? He's a geriatric Bond that, he tried to punch someone, and he's like, oh, fuck, I shattered me hand. And
it's like maybe the Bond villain's like Mr. Glass. Maybe we get some.
Yeah, he's really super threatening. Well, it turns out James Bond, deathly afraid of water. Watch out for puddles, my friend. Watch out for them puddles.
Or Daniel Craig just beats the shit out of Mr. Glass and breaks all his bones.
It's a 2-minute movie. That's why Danny Boyle left, is because the Broccoli's and MGM or whoever is fucking running the show these days wanted the movie to be 2 minutes long. He's like, look, the villain's going to be Mr. Glass, and James Bond is going to beat the fucking shit out of him. That's it. That's the movie, man. And Danny Boyle is just like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think so.
I'm out.
I don't think so. So anyway, moving on to not so greener pastures. I gotta be the one to break the bad news regarding Sony Pictures and their head being so far up their ass that it is probably. I mean, it's probably physically painful any way you spend that sort of maneuver. But it's now hurting. It's hurting me, and it's hurting a lot of people. And I'll talk about this a little bit more. I got kind of 2 pieces of news related to Sony Pictures and what's going on with a certain mega property that they technically have the film rights to and some television rights to, and that is Spider-Man. There's a lot of drama going on, tug of war developing over Spider-Man. Hopefully an ongoing saga, but as of now, we got to go with what we know, and what we know is that there's an impasse between Disney and Sony, which as of recording this episode means that Spider-Man no longer gets to play in the sandbox with the rest of the Marvel characters in the Marvel Studios, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sounds like Sony is taking their toys and going home, because sounds like Kevin Feige's out, Marvel Studios is out, straight up Spider-Man only going to be made by Sony, distributed by Sony, no creative involvement from Marvel at this point whatsoever, which means what the fuck was all that for? Especially in the wake of Spider-Man Far From Home, which just doubled down on what Homecoming did,
I feel
literally
like,
having Iron Man in it.
Far From Home surely spurred the fucking So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially Marvel Studios went to Sony and said, "Hey, listen, we need more money."
So there's conflicting reports about this. What I'll say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but what I'll say is that the story broke one way. So, Sony issued a press release shortly after. Story got revised somewhat. There's been some more details that have trickled out since this initially broke, probably a few days ago. So we don't know the full scope, I don't think, of exactly how the negotiations went. It's entirely possible negotiations are still on the table, but as of now, there's no agreement whatsoever, and it doesn't sound like they're necessarily close. But this all could be backroom drama, and so maybe this gets resolved in the way that something like the James Gunn getting fired situation does, where it just goes public at some point, and then at some point later it gets resolved, and everyone's happy. That's what we all hope for. But anyway, that's kind of the long and short of the development of the story, the breaking of this story. So what was your understanding? I'm sorry I cut you off.
My understanding is that Marvel Studios' cut of their original agreement was I think 5% of opening day release, and then all merchandise.
Correct.
And then Sony gets everything else. And my understanding of it
Sony is the one that puts the bill for making it as well, to be fair.
Oh, okay. And then my understanding is that Marvel Studios went to Sony and said, "Listen, we need a bigger cut. If we're going to continue making these movies, we need a bigger cut." Yeah,
I mean that's more or less it. So there's been conflicting figures where, and it's not necessarily. So it's not as bad as Disney saying "Hey, give us half the money," because there's a 50% number that's been thrown out there, and what the 50% number means is that Disney offered to pay for half the film, but they would also get 50% of the profits, and not just an opening weekend profits. And I think that's the highest Disney has tried to push on this. And I think
they start high. I'm going to start high, and you counter me.
Well, so what I understood is that apparently Disney was giving 30% as the number. We will co-finance 30%, and we'll take 30% of the profits. That's what we want. And Sony balked at that. And apparently, I've heard reports that Sony was willing to do 25%. And I'm like, those numbers are not far apart from each other. Which is something if you're at such a disagreement over 5%, someone's just going to have to just suck it up and be okay with it. But I don't know if there's truth to that, or if those are just numbers that are off, or maybe there's more to this that we don't know. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing where I'm sure that this shit happens all the time. There's tons of lawyers negotiating and being well, we want, we don't want to make it unless we get this amount of money, or we'll put up this money. This happens all the time, but it's weird for this to happen in such a public manner. It's like a fucking divorce, just coming to the forefront, and it's so weird. And a lot of people have speculated that one of these companies might have leaked it to try to gain themselves some leverage. And I think that's totally a possibility. And people have rationalized it as Sony doing it, and people have rationalized it as Disney doing it. And I'm like, well then, I mean, who did it? It's really interesting. Disney could be weaponizing the fan base because they're fucking pissed, because why would anyone trust Sony with Spider-Man at this point, to do it by themselves? Whereas Sony is, it's just kind of well, I mean, we want to make money on these things that we technically have the rights to, and we had a great fucking deal before. Why are we gonna, we just made almost $1 billion on Venom, which was, in spite of it being a trash film, it's I can kind of understand Sony being maybe a little bit too big for their britches at this point and thinking well, what the fuck do we need these guys for? And so weirdly enough, I kind of see the angles from both companies, because ultimately they're businesses. Totally. You know what I mean? Sony was in a position where well, if they change the deal at all, they're in a worse position than they were. Whereas Disney obviously has kind of at this point proven themselves and has nothing to gain if they just stick with what they have. Whereas if they push, they're like, well, we just made you your highest grossing film of all time. So you want to cut, give me a cut of that. And it's just like, yeah, absolutely. Like, right. Why not? So I don't know. As of now, it's all a bit fucked. You know what I mean? It's just kind of just like, get your shit together, And
no, I tell you what I think.
Yeah.
This is the way I think it's going to go. And of course, with I can picture Disney being so vested in their properties, being so, I mean, they are vested. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, they've introduced the character into the MCU and everything else, and they are obviously willing to do it with what they originally had. I can see Disney saying, okay, all right, what do we need to do to get this property back? In which case, now you have to, because you initially asked, and now it's public, and now it's this and that. How bad do you want it back? Because we'll just pull it from you.
We'll just buy it outright.
No, it's not. That's not even. I don't think Sony can't afford to fucking give up that property. The property just made them $1 billion. They're not gonna fucking get rid of it.
Well, if they got money out of it enough, it might be. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, if Sony goes forward with Spider-Man 3 with no MCU involvement whatsoever, how much money does that movie make? Do people care?
Oh,
do people notice?
Oh, yeah.
I'll notice. I'll care. Well,
I probably care about fucking Venom.
Probably.
Though.
Venom made a lot of money, and it's just like, okay, well, Spider-Verse didn't make that much money, but it's animated, so it's like, okay, that's weird. And they're making Morbius, which is almost a guarantee to bomb, and so it's just kind of like where Sony is now. We can kind of see their perspective is like, we get it, And they're also run by Tom Rothman, who's the fucking idiot that ran Fox into the ground with the X-Men franchise. So it's like Hollywood is notorious for people failing upwards. And so it's not surprising that, they had incompetent leadership before, and then now they still have incompetent leadership, just a different sort of incompetent leadership. Before it was, we cannot make this movie, please God, make this movie for us. And now it's like, well, we don't know how to make it, but it'll make money, so who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? So,
I couldn't believe how small of a cut Marvel Studios got for making the movie.
I mean, that shows Kevin Feige's passion for fucking Spider-Man.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm getting at.
He's just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll fucking make your movie for you. Like, I will do this group project and put just your name on it. I won't even put my name on it. He put his name on it, to be fair.
But I'm going to do it for 5% of one day, and I'm going to do it for fucking toys.
And I'll literally do all the work. You just need to put up the money. Like, that was the deal. And, like, that was basically the deal. I mean, I'm sure they made some money off of the opening day or weekend grosses, like a drop in the bucket. Like, Sony is
infinitely ahead
in terms of the financial investments behind that deal. Now, that said, the merchandising stuff is wholly separate from anything related to this. So Marvel/Disney owns the merchandising rights outright. Sony will never have those again.
Okay.
Why in the fuck would Disney ever give that up? Because that's always a cash cow. So any movie that Sony makes will still profit Disney. Because the merchandising will go straight into Disney's pocket. So it's kind of just like that's something that
it's not even a chip on the table at this point. Now we're just talking about the fucking movies. Okay.
Yeah, that was part of like a separate like renegotiation of their contract many, many years ago. So
it's a fuck deal, man. It's a fuck deal. It's interesting to see how these negotiations go forward now, because like you say,
it's all public, man. It's it's a very messy kind of public thing, and what happens? Like I think everyone hopes that they can just get their shit together. Like that's the hopeful resolution is like someone bite the bullet, and just do it for the hashtag greater good or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it sucks because obviously Marvel Studios has poured a lot into Spider-Man as a character in terms of literally just the character development and kind of positioning him as kind of a tentpole character to be featured throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Sony has greatly benefited from that. So it seems like for both parties, it's in their best interests to just get
make a compromise, right?
Just work something out, and it still lets Sony fuck off and do their other stupid shit properties, one of which I'm going to talk about in just a few seconds. You know what I mean? It's just like Sony still has the opportunity to still make movies on the side, to make their Morbiuses, to make their Venoms, to make their Venom sequels. You know what I mean? So
we'll see what happens, I guess.
we'll see what happens. Yeah, like I said, hopefully we can come back in a couple weeks, month and a half, something like that, and we'll have good news.
I don't think Marvel Marvel won't let the property go. I'm confident.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if there's no good resolution to this. Whether it means that, like I said, someone's taken the hit. I think that's inevitable, just because obviously they would have just had an agreement if there was something inamendable, in their terms. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we'll have good things to talk about in the future. As of now, though, not so good. Venom sequel's happening. Made a lot of money. No surprises there. Ruben Fleischer not coming back to direct it. In his place, Andy Serkis.
Okay.
Coming on board to direct the sequel to Venom, which will, of course, feature the likes of Tom Hardy, and I believe Michelle Williams is set to reprise her role as the woman that was in that movie, who was his ex-girlfriend, wife, something like that. I don't know. It's fine. Is it, though? Andy Serkis, it's an interesting choice. I don't know that I've ever seen an Andy Serkis-directed film. I like Andy Serkis as an actor. As a performer, he's excellent.
He did Mowgli or whatever, didn't he?
He did Mowgli, which is on Netflix, and I haven't watched it yet. I heard mixed things on it, I believe.
It looked weird.
Yeah, it was kind of off-putting, like the designs and like the voice kind of capture how they did it. But maybe it was fine. Who's to say? I don't know. Who the fuck wants Venom 2? I mean, obviously a lot of people. This thing made too much money, but like, oh my god,
that was a rough movie.
It's like my worst fear is, nothing gets resolved with fucking the Spider-Man stuff, and they chuck Tom Holland in this shit with fucking Woody Harrelson and his goddamn awful wig from that credit scene in the first one. It's my worst fear, and like, it's super close to happening, and it terrifies me.
It'll get worked out.
Please, for the love of everything, do not go see Morbius, because Jared Leto, and B, because fucking who wants a Morbius movie? Come on. At least Venom's popular. I get it. It looks cool. Morbius? Huh?
Who is the Dracula? Who has the Dracula property? Is that Marvel?
I assume so, yeah.
Maybe that's who. Maybe,
I assume so. I assume that's probably rolled. It's probably rolled into the Blade stuff. I had to guess.
Yeah. Fucking Blade against fucking Dracula. Jesus
fucking
Christ.
Mahershala Ali.
Cutting
up Dracula and shit.
Goodness.
Oh baby. Yeah. And that's another thing to say, I suppose, while we're on the subject. Like, Sony's PR basically was just like, Kevin Feige's, he's got his plate full. He's like super busy. He doesn't have to worry about Spider-Man. He doesn't have the time for Spider-Man. I'm like, that's bullshit. Dude loves Spider-Man. But at the same time, he does have a lot on his plate. So it's a weak argument in terms of negotiations, in terms of like being the reason like they couldn't agree on something. It's like, Kevin Feige would make time for Spider-Man. No doubt in my mind.
He made the movies for 5% of one fucking day.
Right, and like, that's exactly it. And it was just like, no, he would absolutely continue with this, even if it made his, his work schedule even more ridiculous than it probably
We're making
is.
a fucking Spider-Man studio. That's what we're doing.
Like, yeah, just because he has X-Men and Fantastic Four and some other badass shit on his plate, like, he would do it. He would do it. Sorry. No one's buying that fucking line. So, I have one last bit of news, which actually kind of ties into what we're talking about. Unfortunately, you won't have a whole lot of input on this, which is disappointing. So we both saw Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. That's why we're talking about it on this episode, because we saw it. And something happened when I watched the movie that did not happen when you watched the movie, and I find it most disappointing because I texted you right after it happened as I was watching my showing, and that's that there was a fucking stealth drop of a little teaser trailer for Christopher Nolan's new film called Tenet.
And I didn't fucking see it.
It was about 40 seconds long. I had no idea this happened. I looked it up after the fact, and there was definitely reports on it being there. But interestingly enough, it's a theater-only trailer. Has not been released online. I'm sure if you looked, you could probably find a shitty, off-screen kind of thing. I haven't looked that closely. I just kind of saw it. And as I was watching it, it's short, and I watched it, and it's got John David Washington, who is the lead character in BlacKkKlansman, as the lead in this film. I was like, is this fucking the Christopher Nolan movie? Like that was like my initial thought when I was watching it, and I kept watching it, and I'm like, how the fuck did I not hear about this? Absolutely wild. Anyway, the movie's coming out July 2020. It's about a 40-second clip. It shows kind of the protagonist and has some like text on the screen. It says, "Time has come for a new protagonist. Time has come for a new kind of mission." And then there's kind of like a cool like spinning logo type thing where it reveals Tenet as the title. So there's not like a lot of footage in it. There's not a whole lot to it. It's more just like a, hey, look at this kind of thing. Like this movie's happening and here, just so you're aware. So I feel like maybe because it's such a limited thing in scope, that's why it's only been a cinema-only type thing as opposed to a full, proper, online release. And maybe we'll get like a fuller teaser trailer relatively soon. But if you needed a reason to see Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, aside from the excellent nature of the film, the Tenet teaser trailer might be there for you. I would bet if you could probably scour YouTube and find like a craft quality version of it. But anyway, I'm just putting it out there. It's fucking cool. It looked cool. Christopher Nolan, obviously, and no doubt about that. So anyway, that's that. Shall we talk about the film?
Yes, we shall talk about the film.
Let's do it. It was written by Chris Morgan, Drew Pearce, directed by David Leitch, who has done Deadpool 2 recently, first John Wick, co-directed the first John Wick, and Atomic Blonde. That's what's important for us. Milestone episode, first episode ever. Also with the Dark Tower, but we don't
talk about that.
We don't like to talk about that and the teeth that it chips. Stars,
fuck you, man.
Stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Vanessa Kirby, and Dame Helen Mirren. Sorry, lawman Luke Hobbs and outcast Deckard Shaw form an unlikely alliance when a cybergenetically enhanced villain threatens the future of humanity. We've come so far since The Fast and the Furious, haven't we? We've come so far.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
We got fucking cyborgs in this shit, yo. Domestic box office debuted at number 1 with a $60.8 million opening weekend. As of now, it stands at $141.7 million. I think that's through about 3 weeks of release. I believe it was number 1 its second weekend as well, with like a half-decent drop. Worldwide, it's at $462.1 million. In terms of the franchise, pretty good. It's definitely a cut below the most recent Fast and Furious movies. I think Fast 5, 6, and 7, and I guess 8, The Fate of the Furious, whatever, what a fucking stupid title. I think they're all a bit above it. I think 7 and 8, like worldwide, crossed $1 billion. This will not do that. Yeah, they did really, really well. And
who
most
owns
of it was
property?
Overseas. Universal. It's all Universal.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers now. So this is absolutely insane. I mean, what the fuck is that split? So The Fate of the Furious did $1.236 billion worldwide, of which domestically $226 million is like, so literally over $1 billion from the overseas gross alone, which accounts for almost 82% of the worldwide gross. So it's not to say that people in America don't like The Fast and the Furious. It seems that they do like it, but not to the extent that apparently the rest of the globe does, because that's insane.
I
don't know that I've ever seen a split like that. I mean, that's totally bonkers. Literally $1 billion overseas alone. And like, that would be fine if it's like Avengers, because you're close, you're somewhat close to the neighborhood of like $500 million to almost $1 billion domestically, but
right.
like, and the share makes a little bit more sense, but that is such an inequitable split. It's fucking wild. But anyway, these movies are fucking wild, aren't they?
They are wild, yes.
I think that's it. Is that all the intro? I don't know. It's been a while since we've done one of these bad boys. Yeah, let's talk non-spoilers. What do you got? How'd you like this film? Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess we watch our fair share of over-the-top action movies, I suppose.
Yeah.
But this one's straight up. This one's straight up stupid. I mean, it's just a stupid.
This is without a doubt one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen in my life. Without a doubt.
But it was completely awesome.
And that's why it's fucking great. That's exactly why it's fucking great.
The humor in it was I thoroughly enjoyed all the humor in it. Just a couple of guest appearances that I definitely did not see happening.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in spoilers. Yeah, for sure. They really hid that from the marketing, I'm pretty sure. I think there were uncredited cameos as well.
Or were they?
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, cool. And Yeah, I don't have a lot of ways, and there was one cool song in it.
There was a lot of montages and like music video type sequences. Like there's like 4, I think, in this movie.
Yeah,
where it's just like and it's not like it's not like the most ridiculous things, but it's usually like a mechanic working or something. Like I don't know. Like it's just like, all right, well here's our 4-minute music video to kind of give you like a pause from the action, and then like it'll maybe it'll be like a comedic beat right after it, where Hobbs and Shaw are going to be trading some barbs with each other for about 5 minutes in a row.
That happens frequently.
And then it'll be an action sequence. Like that's the movie structure, is like that just repeated 4 times, where it starts, I guess, with like an action beat, and then there's a montage, and then there's comedy, and then there's action, montage, comedy. Like it's just that until the end.
It does. It definitely has a rhythm, movie. Right? But I think it nails the rhythm. I think it nails what it sets out to do. And I thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely a stupid movie. But the action's I think the action's great.
It's great. It's well shot too.
It's well shot.
It's easy to follow. It's super ludicrous. You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely bonkers. I cannot wait to talk about the fucking last act of this film, because oh my good god,
I got a lot of
incredible.
I got a lot of snippets from old movies. Like there's.
What do you mean by that?
My first experience with Jason Statham was the Transporter, and I got some Transporter vibes from it. Maybe that's just because he's driving cars.
Yeah, there's a Statham connection. Yeah,
fucking action, or whatever.
Yeah, I can see it though.
But sure. there's one shot in particular that I caught it was definitely, I definitely feel like it was a callback. And it was in the last sequence there. I think it was from, it's the movie, I think it's from Soldier, I think, with, what the fuck is his name?
Is that the Kurt Russell one?
Kurt Russell, yes, it's exactly what it is. I definitely got a call back from the Kurt Russell movie. It just looked thematically very similar. We can talk about it in spoilers, but yeah. So I don't know. It just felt like there was a lot of callbacks to old school action movies. I don't know. It's kind of I kind of got those vibes when I was watching. That one sticks out the most. The Jason Statham one definitely calls back, but then again, it's a Fast and Furious movie, so I don't know if maybe it's just inherently gonna seem similar to the Transporter. But yeah, I totally enjoyed it. Thought it was totally cool.
I mean, it's just so dumb. Like you can't just help but fall in love with it and like just roll around in it and like it's weird. Like I think you have to come in knowing what to get, right? If you come into this thinking you're going to get any old movie, like you're probably going to fucking hate it. Like right off the bat, it's very much its own thing. And I knew what I expected walking in, and I walked out thrilled with it. If I had to make one complaint, I think it's probably too long for what it is. I could have probably taken like an hour 40, hour 45 instead of 2+ hours of it, because there's a point where it kind of becomes a little too much, I think. But it's an absolute turn your brain off, and like you just got to know, like you just got to be ready for it. Like, and I think it helps to obviously have some sort of familiarity with the Fast and Furious franchise, not necessarily in terms of knowing the characters, but just in terms of knowing the style and the feel of it. Like, if you went from Fast and the Furious 1 to watching this, it would be jarring as fuck, and I think you'd hate it. If you have watched any of the series, or at least kind of followed it as it's progressed, basically from 5 on, like this is just it, just kind of even maybe elevated even more. So I really enjoyed it, and fucking I gotta say, Dwayne Johnson, man, he's great. Jason Statham's great. They're great together. It's fun. Just it's not always great, in terms of the dialogue, in terms of the jokes, in terms of the insults that are traded and stuff like that. Like sometimes it's not great. But sometimes it's so, again, it's just, it still veers into that so fucking bad and stupid that, I mean, come on. Like you're gonna hate on this? Like really? That feels like low-hanging fruit to be like, oh, this is a bad movie. I'm like, yeah, of course it is.
Did you watch the trailer?
It's the best, it's like the best kind of bad movie, because it absolutely is intended to be that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess, I don't know. I don't want to mount a weird defense force for this movie, but like...
It's just a campy movie. It's a campy
It's a campy,
movie.
super over the top, but I think that for what it is striving for, it fucking nails it. Like, it really, really just, I think, crushes it in terms of what it's trying to do. And that's either going to be for you or it's not going to be for you. I guess that's maybe the bottom line. And for me, I was game. I walked in game. I left game for more. I will say that. I'm 125% in on a Hobbs and Shaw sequel. Although, I think eventually what they'll have to do is they'll keep them separate for a few movies, and then there'll be like a super crossover again, where it's
like Fast and Furious 10,
Fast and Furious, and Hobbs and Shaw in space.
You
do. I mean, it's going there. We all know it's going there. It's just
Furious Hobbs and Shaw.
Fast Hobbs and Furious Shaw, and then the next one will be Furious Hobbs and Fast Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, fucking fast. Anyways,
the fate of the Hobbs and the fate of the Shaw.
It's stupid.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's also dumb, but I love it.
It was cool.
And Vanessa Kirby, come on, and Idris Elba, but Vanessa Kirby I thought particularly was really fun. She was a great addition as I don't know if it's a spoiler. Who cares? Shaw's sister. Yeah, she's great.
There was that one sequence for the well, I don't know. We'll talk
the airplane. What are you thinking about?
There's we'll just get we can get into spoilers.
We'll get into it. Yeah, you're right. And Idris Elba plays a fucking cyborg. I mean, come on, that's great. Also, we'll wait for spoilers for it, but we got to have a quote of the decade from Idris Elba from this film. There's no doubt in my mind. We'll talk about it. Any other non-spoiler thoughts?
No.
I feel like we kind of had it. Yeah, recommendation. What do you think recommendation-wise? It's kind of an interesting one, like quality-wise, like, but like in terms of like pure spectacle, in terms of pure joy, like where would you sit on this one?
No, I said hi. Go watch it in theaters.
Okay.
It's definitely worth watching. It's not a movie that's like, it's not made poorly. It's not written poorly. It's just thematically and content-wise, it's over the top, and it's just a crazy action movie. So I think it's. I mean, it has to be your cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna feed on that and say that I'm gonna give it a split recommendation.
Oh,
if you know what you're getting, go see it in theaters. If you know what to expect from it, go see it in theaters. I think you'll have a blast because it's a fucking hilarious movie. I don't know if I made that point. I was dying of laughter this whole movie. Oh my God, it is so hilarious. Sometimes it's intentionally hilarious, but more often than not, it's just so absurd that, like, I think the only appropriate reaction is to laugh. However, if you're not predisposed, I don't think, to what this movie is or what it is intended to be, you're not going to be laughing. You're going to be sitting there like a sourpuss, like really fucking angry at someone.
I don't think I don't think anybody would be that way. I think
you might turn to the person you went with and say, "What the fuck? Why would you bring me to this?" Yeah. So I really, really like, and in that case, I would say, like maybe give it a Netflix or like a streaming type thing, because it's just kind of like, maybe it's for you, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's worth taking that gamble if you just don't know what you're getting into. But if you are, theaters. Yeah, man, easy rec. I also want to recommend something else that I've been listening to, which is related to this movie. It's another podcast, actually. It's a very popular podcast. I haven't listened to a ton of what they do, but what I have listened to of this particular episode is amazing. It's a podcast called How Did This Get Made? It's where a group of people talk about basically usually bad movies or usually like insanely over-the-top movies and just kind of take it, bit by bit and, walk through the movie. It's hosted by, I think, Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, and they had a couple of guests on for this one that I'm listening to now, which was on Hobbs and Shaw. Adam Scott from Parks and Rec and Party Down was on there, and Nicole Byer from, I think, Nailed It on Netflix was on there. And they, oh my God, their enthusiasm for this movie is so infectious. Like, they're like talking about like, I just want to watch this movie for 5 years. I just want to live in this movie. Like that's kind of the vibe they're going for. I'm like, and I think this is the kind of movie that absolutely has that sort of appeal where it's so extra. I mean, it's so extra. It's ridiculous. but I had a blast with it. I absolutely had a blast. But I would recommend checking out that podcast because it's super fun. It's a live episode that they did. And I think there's like a prequel episode that kind of is like a follow-up to that episode, which I haven't had a chance to get to. So highly recommend that. How Did This Get Made? iTunes, probably everywhere because they've got a lot of money behind them. So they're fine. They don't need the support. Let's just put it that way, but they deserve it. Shall we do full spoilers?
Let's do it. Full spoilers.
Full spoilers for Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw. That's the one. Nailed it. Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Hart.
Fucking awesome.
Right off the bat. I mean, that was fun. As soon as Ryan Reynolds showed up, I'm like, I don't fucking remember seeing this guy in the trailer. Like, I heard his voice is the one that comes on off screen initially, and I'm just like, the fuck? You know what I mean? And then Kevin Hart just wheeling around in the fucking airplane.
That
just
got
immediate
me.
Kevin
I started
Hart,
fucking laughing hard. I laughed hard when he's like, "Hey guys."
There was also the I forget the guy's name. I can look it up. Rob Delaney. He appears as a CIA agent. He was the regular guy in Deadpool 2.
Oh,
that was
okay,
part of the team.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think there's obvious connections here. Ryan Reynolds obviously being in Deadpool 2, which was directed by David Leitch, who directed this film. That makes sense. Rob Delaney also appearing in that film. And then Kevin Hart was, he's in Jumanji, the Jumanjis, I guess, as it turns out.
It's like The Rock just dragged
with
him
The
in.
Rock.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was probably the connection there was, Dwayne, hitting up his bud Kev, hitting up his bud Kev and saying, "Hey Kev, you want to be in Fast and Furious?" And then Kevin Hart's like, "Hell yeah."
I think this was produced by Jason Statham, though, right?
Maybe.
I think I saw that in the credits.
Well, I think it's produced by both of them. Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Chris Morgan, and Hiram Garcia. That's what it's listed as. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was great. And it was fun because they were actually decent sized roles for both of them too, and kind of paid off in their own sort of ways. Pretty funny. I feel like do you have any immediate spoiler thoughts? Because I have one, unless you're chomping at the bit to say something.
I'll just drop what I've got.
Okay, let's do it.
I thought it was hilarious. Vanessa Kirby, right? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Vanessa Kirby's beating the shit out of The Rock, and he's just kind of swatting everything she throws at him, out of the way, and this and that. And she smashes the bottle. Yeah, and she hops on this, and she's choking him out. And he's choking him out, and he just says, "Fuck it." And he just fucking.
Oh god, that was so hilarious. The framing of the shot was just incredible.
And I like how they totally call out how large The Rock is throughout this entire movie. It's just, it was incredible. The Rock's, they put him in the McLaren with 3 other people, and The Rock's just fucking cramped up in the car, and he grabs that guy on the motorcycle, throws him against the wall.
The fucking call. Oh my goodness, that was the best kill. I think that was the best kill in this film. I forgot about that. Oh my god, that was glorious.
It's so great.
Oh, that was incredible. Man. I enjoyed The Rock on the plane when he's he's having the back and forth with Statham. Yeah, and he's like, she could make her own decisions, but if she wants to ride this mountain, I'll let her ride the mountain. Don't worry about it.
Ride the mountain again and again and again and again.
Oh god, this is so fucking dumb.
When The Rock got on the fucking plane was hilarious. After the fucking anal search or whatever.
Yeah.
He hops on the plane. He's all smiles. Hey, how are you? Hey, I love your burqa.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It was so good. Oh man, Mike cock small.
Mike Oxmall.
I go by Michael.
I go by Michael.
I laughed so hard throughout this whole movie. It's so funny. The other one was the 80s sequence I was talking about was the helicopter crashes, and they're down there in the bottom. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Soldier has the same thing with a helicopter crash, and it's raining, and they're fighting a genetically engineered dude that's the next step above them, in a rainy mud puddle situation. Whatever, I don't know, just look the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, what'd you got?
I wanted to crowdsource something. I stole a comment from Reddit, and I'm going to credit him, so it's not totally stealing, it's borrowing. Fancy Shrimp on Reddit in the Hobbs and Shaw official discussion thread in our movies said, "Don't talk to me if your movie doesn't have at least 4 cars linked together trying to hold down a helicopter while perilously skirting the edge of a small Pacific island nation." And damn if that is not the best review of this film, because that was easily, I think, one of my favorite, maybe the favorite part of the film for me.
Rox sold the fucking helicopter.
Oh my, dude, he Captain America that shit.
He did.
Oh my god, I loved it. There was a lot of Captain America in this film, wasn't there? Because like that was an obvious kind of thing, but even just like a lot of the stuff with Idris Elba like felt very Winter Soldier-y, like, you know, like cybernetic enhancements and like just like the sequences where like he's, you know, like they're doing the shit with the spine felt very similar to them like fucking with Bucky's arms and shit.
Right. Yeah.
Single arm. So I feel like, you know, whoever wrote this movie, was it Chris Morgan and Drew Pearce? Like, I feel like they just slapped together like a bunch of movies that they liked.
With
and then they threw a little dash of Fast and Furious on top. You know what I mean? Like,
sprinkled.
It's like, it's a lot of Captain America in it.
What about Idris Elba's transforming motorcycle?
Oh man, fucking Transformers is apparently a big inspiration for this. It straight up was a fucking Decepticon, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. He fucking hops on the back of that bitch and it fucking transforms and goes all slim, and then he hops on top of it again. That's fucking cool.
Transformers, Captain America, Soldier. I mean, what else you got in this damn thing, man? Deadpool is I mean, Ryan Reynolds is basically just playing Deadpool out of costume.
That's true. So. Yeah.
Or Detective Pikachu, I guess, as it turned out.
What else was there? Oh, fuck. Can't remember.
I'm trying to look through. I mean, I don't think I will see this again in theaters, to be honest. I don't think I'll have the time for it. But I'll gladly add it to my collection. And I honestly just feel like this is like a set it and forget it kind of movie. Like, you could have this on like an endless 24-hour loop.
You'd be happy with it.
And like, you could tune it out and like be productive and do other things. But like, when you needed that 5-minute break, there's like always any 5-minute segment in this movie will probably be endlessly entertaining, if that makes sense.
It's like the movie they put on repeat on like FX or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a perfect hotel movie, and I think we talked about hotel movies a while back. This is ideal hotel movie right here. Like, it's better than like your Dark Phoenixes, or I think, which is maybe what we talked about.
Yeah,
when we were talking about hotel movies. It's without a doubt better than that. Way more enjoyable as well. But like, just like disposable entertainment, you will find no finer than this, I don't think. It's really it's quite fun. Quite fun. Let me see if I had any other thoughts on this, because it's quote of the century. I gotta talk about the quote of the century. Comes courtesy of what's his character, Brixton Lore, as portrayed by Idris Elba. He says, "Genocide, schmenocide."
Yeah. That fucking guy. The scientist torching everybody. Just fucking burning everybody, and he comes up behind him, snaps his neck.
I loved everything about this. Well, maybe not everything, but honestly, like,
the vast majority of it, I think, was.
I'm not going to complain about anything. Like, there's a few, like I said, there's dialogue that doesn't work sometimes. There's kind of weird things that happen sometimes, but like, I'm fine with it.
I think the stupidest thing that I mean, on top of everything, I mean, the whole, I guess as a whole, it's all
on top
stupid,
stupidest on top of the stupid. Yeah, sure.
But you got the
diving through the layers of stupid.
I did notice the most egregious thing that I noticed when the Rock is hanging on the back of the tow truck and there's 4 cars latched onto him holding that, you know, he's holding the helicopter down.
Right.
He says on the back, he's, "Give him the moonshine." And somehow with a helicopter right here and all 4 of these cars going, the guy all the way in the fucking front inside his car fucking heard the Rock and flips the switch, hits that NOS.
Yeah. But and the fucking NOS, dude. Oh, man.
They all fucking NOS it up.
They NOS it up, dude. Oh, man. It was so fast and so furious, man. It was too fast and too furious for me, man. I loved it.
It was crazy.
It was the Fast and the Furious Tokyo drifting for me, man. Shit, yeah. It was Fast and Furious and for me. It was Fast 5 and for me. It was Furious 6 and for me. It was... What's the 7th one called?
I have no idea. You would know more than me.
Fast is just called Fast 7. No, that's not right. I think it's Fast and Furious 7. And then there's the Fate. It was Fast and Furious 7 and for me, and it was Fate and Furious and for me. Man, I loved all. I love that NOS.
When they hit that NOS?
When they hit that NOS, man, I was in. I mean, I was already so in. You know, the whole fucking Samoa set piece was just so ludicrous and so great. And all of it was great. Like, some of it's like Mission Impossible-esque. Like, the virus kind of feels like almost like a Mission Impossible kind of thing.
Right. But instead of calling fucking Tom Cruise, they called The Rock.
Yeah, they got The Rock in there. Ethan Hunt was on vacay. Yeah. You know,
when he's unavailable, we call Hobbs and Shaw.
Jeremy Renner was too busy driving Jeeps, listening to his own tunes. You know, that sort of thing.
Producing an album. Yeah.
Producing an album. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all I got. That's all I got on this movie.
I'm surprised. So obviously they're planning this to be a franchise. I'm surprised they didn't have like a reveal of who the voice was, like the robotic voice.
I thought that would be like a Furious, like you would know because of all the Fast and Furious movies.
I don't. Then it's not really connected to anything prior to that. I'm sure it will be in some fashion,
right?
I'm sure that's their intent. But I'm surprised that they didn't reveal it, especially because it 100% sounded like Ryan Reynolds doing the voice, and I'm pretty sure it was. But that doesn't mean that, like, if they were intending to make the Ryan Reynolds character and that character the same, I mean, it's fucking insane.
Incredible.
It's insane, and I think it's almost too far of a leap to make even for this.
I wouldn't put it past it. That would be fucking hysterical.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not saying I would put it past them, but I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Is that too much? Like, if they do it, I will find out if it's too much or not. But like, they deliberately did not reveal that, and I was kind of surprised by that.
I was heartbroken when I didn't. When you you obviously didn't want to be my best friend, and so I decided to make a terrorist organization to fuck you up. I could see it.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Was it definitely his voice doing the voice on the? Was he the bad guy voice?
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
So it was credited as Champagne Nightingale, which is not a real person. And apparently Keanu Reeves was in negotiations for that role, interestingly enough, which to me suggests like, yeah, it's intended to be someone else, but I feel like they probably just used a placeholder voice and figured it would be modulated enough that people wouldn't notice. But there's a couple times where it's not quite as modulated, and it totally sound like Ryan Reynolds in terms of tone, voice, that sort of thing. So I think he might have just done it as an uncredited type thing, but I don't think it's actually intended to be his character. Otherwise, that's weird. Did you know there's like 4 post-credit scenes in this shit? Did you stick around for any of them?
No, I fucking got out and left.
Yeah, they're all dumb. So there's there's one scene that's basically more of Ryan Reynolds' character. That's like split in half, where he just calls The Rock, and like people are like people like tried to break in and steal the virus or whatever. And like the first half of it is him just making jokes. It's basically just him like doing a Deadpool thing, and he literally spoils the final season of Game of Thrones. And I was just like, wow, is it that soon for that already? And the back half of that is when he reveals that he was able to stab someone with a brick. He's like, it's really quite easy. So that was kind of the payoff to that. And then there was another one. Oh, it was this one was kind of funny actually. So it was the Rock turns around the Mike Oxmall situation on Statham, and he has police surround him at like a bar that he's at, like a little pub, and the police are like, "Hugh Janus, come out with your hands up." So that's basically kind of the thing. It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun. The whole movie's just fun. It's a fun movie.
It was fun. It didn't need those. It felt very much like a gag reel kind of thing at the end. But yeah, why not? So I think that's all I have to say on this movie. I greatly enjoyed this film. Again, recommend it for theaters with the caveat of know what you're getting into. Otherwise, probably steer clear. But yeah, tons of fun. It's exactly what I think you would want out of something like this. So Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. I would say I Fast and Furious present that as a rollicking good time. That's what I say. Well, it has been quite some time since we recorded. Would you like to talk about anything exciting you've been up to lately? Surely you've been doing a little bit of something, watching a little bit of something. Anything? Any goodies?
Watched
goodies for the listeners?
A couple episodes of Mindhunter. Mm-hmm. In the vein of the Fast and Furious presents, I also started a Netflix show called Hyperdrive, which is like a
Is that is that a scripted show or is it just like a proper car show?
It's like a proper car show. It's like a game show is what it's like. There's like these drivers from all around the world and they compete in these driving things. And it's pretty cool. I think Charlize Theron is a
she's
producer.
Like a host or something?
She's like a producer.
Okay.
And that's pretty cool. There's a girl from Tampa that was in it, driving a V6 Mustang. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I caught that. I've been, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been up to a lot of anything exciting. I'm trying to roll a D&D character, which is pretty interesting.
Okay.
Still haven't rolled them, but I'm going to make a bard. And I think I want to make this character in the vein of like an Alex Jones character. Because I'm going to make him in the School of Glamour, which is like, it's almost like I can put magic spell. I can, it's illusions. I can do illusions and stuff. And I can make people like me and make people believe me and make people do things and this and that using my glamour skills. So I'm going to make a conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones dude who carries around like a rain stick and captivates people with this fucking rain stick, which is also a quarterstaff. So I can fuck him up with a quarterstaff rain stick thing. And I also want to give them those Mexican clappers. You know what I'm talking about? Like the ladies that dance, they got those clapping things.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to give them those. And I guess that's pretty much it.
Well, how about that?
Have you been up to anything exciting?
Yeah, a little bit. I went on vacation.
Very nice. Yeah, you did come down to vacation, yeah.
So that was nice. Yeah, I was in D.C. for a few days with my parents. Ate way more food than I should have. Visited a couple of the Smithsonian museums. Went to the Holocaust Museum, which was fucking heavy, as you might expect. And weirdly timely, by the way. Saw a Nationals game. So, baseball, your favorite.
Baseball?
Nationals won, unfortunately. It was pretty sad. It's pretty sad to see that, but they're still losing the division, so everything's A-okay. As of today, anyway. Knock on wood. I don't have any wood near me, but knock on it anyway. And then I
knock on it for you.
Nailed it. And I flew down to Florida for a handful of days, hung out with you. The vast majority of those, I guess I probably saw you pretty much every one of those days as it turned out.
Yeah.
It was good fun. We had a little rock band adventure. We had a little Grambling adventure, at the Crescino.
Rock band hard?
Rock banded pretty hard. Had some good food as well. Had a good time. It was good to see you. We didn't get a chance to record an episode. We really didn't watch a whole lot, as it turned out, I suppose. I mean, I guess we did watch the one episode of Mindhunter, which I haven't gone back and done anything else with. But I liked that episode, so I suppose I should carry forward at some point. But yeah, we kind of did not a whole lot of, film and TV related type things, I don't think.
No, we just kind of hung out and ate and drank.
Kind of just did, a little bit more social gatherings. But that was cool. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I had the chance to do it because I don't know the next time I'll be down. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But
I will be coming up there at the beginning of next year sometime.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We did talk about that. We established that.
There we go. Yeah, while I was on vacation, I started a couple things. I'll talk about those. I started reading a book by the name of Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. About 100 pages in of, I think, 470-ish. It's really cool so far. A lot of stuff not in the movie, but stuff that seems like it was reused for future films in the franchise, which is kind of an interesting thing. But I'm liking it so far. I'm bad at reading. I haven't read it in a couple days, so I'm kind of slacking on that front, but it was a good kind of plain.
It's not that you're bad at reading. It's just you're not a dedicated reader. When you say you're bad at
reading, I know how to read. I just tend to not do it very frequently. Ergo, I am bad at reading. No, I do a lot of reading for school, which is starting up, unfortunately, very soon. Or fortunately, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I don't know if I'm ready for that sort of thing yet, but I also have dedicated many an hour to Fire Emblem 3 Houses on the Nintendo Switch, which is fucking excellent. Black Eagles for life. It's great. I love Fire Emblem. It's like, I think I described it to you as a Fire Emblem meets Persona type game, where it's kind of got your traditional strategy turn-based combat of your Fire Emblem series mixed with kind of the social aspects of like the school parts of the recent Persona games and stuff like that. And I find the mix of those to be really compelling together. I like the style, the art design. I like the characters. I like it really feels like a well fleshed out, well made game. So I'm really enjoying it. I've put in, I think, like 12 hours, something like that. So
nice.
Stupid amount of time for the amount of time that I have played it since I started playing it, I guess I should say. But it's really great. Intend to keep on playing it. Last thing I want to talk about is something that I started when I got back from vacation. It's been recommended by several people, and it was about time for me to start on it, and that's The Good Place. I started watching The Good Place on Netflix. First 2 seasons are up. I think season 3 will be up as of the time this probably goes up on the regular feed for our listeners. So if anyone's looking for a nice little sitcom to get into, each season I think is 13 or 12 episodes, and it is fucking hilarious. Wow, I did not expect it to be as good as it is. Like, I expected good things.
What's the premise with this show?
So The Good Place, it's Kristen Bell plays the main character, Eleanor, and she has recently died, and she is sent to the Good Place, which is basically what heaven actually is. And so basically, she is sent to live with fellow people that have died and a neighborhood within the Good Place, which is run by Ted Danson, who is, I guess, kind of like an angel type figure. And he's created this neighborhood. It's like a paradise type thing where they're paired off with soulmates. And there's a couple twists to the formula that make it seem a little bit more interesting than just that. I think it's kind of interesting on that alone, but it's much more irreverent than you would expect based on that description. And I don't want to totally spoil it in case anyone wants to check it out for themselves, but you kind of the hook. You get the hook by the end of the pilot. You know what I mean? So it's there. They're 20 minutes apiece. It's way more serialized than I expected out of a show like this. Like, it would be hard to watch weekly, I feel, but like, it's super made for binging. And because they're short episodes and because they're short seasons, like, I'm halfway done with the first season, and I really like it. The supporting cast is great. Kristen Bell herself is always wonderful, and she continues to be wonderful in this show. Is that
Veronica Mars?
That is Veronica Mars, absolutely.
Okay, good deal. Okay.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. I definitely intend to keep pressing on with my watch of it. But other than that, I think that's it. I think that's it for me, which means that, by golly, this is a relatively half-decent sized episode. How about that? Who knew we had it in us? Do you have anything else you thought of? Are you ready to wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up, dude.
Let's do it. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you have any intention to support us on Patreon, I understand the hesitation given our recent struggles on that front, but we are intending to record at a minimum the episode about the first 5 films from Studio Ghibli in the near future. That will be an exclusive for our supporters on Patreon initially, and then we'll go up to regular listeners some point in the future after that. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can head to our website, www.watchreviewrepeat.com, click the premium tab in the top left, and then click the Become a Patron button. Alternatively, you can just go to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. What we ask for is $2 a month to help sustain costs of hosting and stuff like that. In return, you get early access to all of our regular episodes, which is pretty big, pretty nice, because there's usually a little bit of lag time getting them out the door. And additionally, you will get primo access to any bonus episodes that we have coming out, such as that Ghibli one. So that's our pitch for you. $2 a month. If you're interested, absolutely look into it. Otherwise, no pressure, no big deal. You can follow us on Twitter at WRRPod. You can like us on Facebook just by searching for Watch Review Repeat. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, if there's been anything that you have been up to recently, maybe you saw some of the news that we're going to talk about from D23 and you have some thoughts, send those our way, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. We'd like to talk about that on air. And if no one sends anything in, we just won't talk about it on air. It's just as simple as that. But I think it would be fun if you guys felt the need to, or felt the want to contribute. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode, I guess, is a little bit up in the air. Maybe D23. I think It is probably the next movie we'll end up covering, It Chapter 2, which comes out early September. I'm not sure that there's really anything in the pipeline immediately that demands our attention. I may be mistaken, but so just be aware. We're not exactly sure how we're going to play it next, but I would say be prepared for the eventuality that there will be some timing, delays between episodes. Certainly more than what we've done over the summer. So we're gonna target a bi-weekly release schedule, and I think that we can probably manage to pull that off. But maybe with some ebbs and flows here and there, school starting back up, and just life in general. It plays its factors. So that is, I think that is it for me. Andrew, would you like
to? That's it for me.
Well, would you like to take them out, the listeners?
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menge.